Hold that coin. Look close. One side, a loon gliding on a quiet northern lake, the Loonie we all know. The other side, a familiar royal portrait. The words around it in Latin. To some collectors, to some eBay listings, and to a handful of whispered internet threads, this small disc of metal is more than $1. It's a mystery, a rumor mill, a potential treasure. Today we are untangling the truth about a 2003 Canadian dollar, the inscription D times G times Rex, the sudden talk of Charles III on a 2003 coin, and what these pieces really fetch at auction in 2025. The Canadian $1 coin, the Loonie, is simple and iconic. An 11-sided coin with a loon on the reverse and the monarch's portrait on the obverse. The portrait and the wording around it change with the sovereign. In 2003, the sovereign on Canadian circulating coins was still Queen Elizabeth II, and most circulating $1 pieces from that year carry her effigy and the legend, Elizabeth II D times G times Regina. That's right, a 2003 Loonie with Charles III. On it would be an anachronism. Coinage is conservative. Portrait changes only when a monarch dies and a replacement effigy is commissioned, approved, and struck. When King Charles III's effigy was introduced to Canadian circulation, the Royal Canadian Mint unveiled the new portrait in late 2023, 2 decades after 2003. The legend on coins struck since November 2023 reads, Charles III D times G times Rex. The Internet. The legend of a Charles III. 2003 Loonie is one of those. Delightful coin collector. Myths that start small and grows fast. Let's map the common lines of confusion. Impossible as a regular issue coin. King Charles did not become monarch until 2022. Any legitimately minted Canadian coin reading Charles III. D times G times REX and dated 2003 would be a modern fantasy, an obvious mislabeling, misattribution, or edited image. The only way a 2003 dated piece could legitimately bear Charles' name is as an altered or novelty item, not as original Royal Canadian Mint output. 2003 is actually well documented. There are varieties collectors discuss: old effigy versus new effigy, portraits of Elizabeth II in the same year, some struck with the crowned effigy, some without crowns depending on die used and die polishing, and certain mint state or proof examples that command premiums, but most standard circulation. 2003 Loonies are common. Face value is still their baseline, and modest premiums apply for pristine, graded examples. D times G times Rex is simply an abbreviation of Latin. Dei Gratia Rex, by the grace of God, King. It's a traditional style of monarchical titulature used on Commonwealth coinage for centuries. It's historic and ceremonial, not a secret mark that makes a coin rare. Okay, so you want the interesting bits. What do collectors actually look for in a 2003 Canadian dollar? Let's break it down. Our old effigy versus new effigy, Elizabeth II 2003, was among years where two different effigy styles can appear: older, crowned portraits, and slightly newer portraits with different hairlines or diadem details. These are noted by hobby sites and sellers and sometimes labeled old effigy vs new effigy. The differences are subtle and matter mostly to portrait collectors. A die polish marks, strike weakness, and minting anomalies, small die lines, doubling, or planchette flaws happen. Most are low-value curiosities unless they are dramatic error coins, accepted by major grading services. The Royal Canadian Mint produced several special silver proof and collector versions in 2003. For example, a 2003 proof silver dollar for the Golden Jubilee and other commemorative themes, Verger, coronation anniversary, etc. Those come in silver. With limited mintages and certificate packs, they command collector prices, reasonably above face value depending on edition and condition. The crowned portrait of Elizabeth II, diadem visible, versus some portrait showing the Queen wearing no crown on. Particular proofs or circulation strikes. Collectors notice and sometimes pay more for certain attractive portrait types or those linked to special issues. Numbers. Let's look at what real marketplaces, not rumor pages, show in 2025. A standard circulated 2003 Loonie typically trades around face value in circulation. When sold in bulk or as ungraded single coins, listings often ask as low as CAD $1 to $3. 4 uncirculated brilliant, uncirculated examples. Many dealers list them in the low single-digit to low tens range. Are old effigy and new effigy, labeled UNC pieces, 2003. Sellers on eBay and specialized dealers often list such examples with asking prices between $15 to $30, depending on eye appeal and whether the seller's calling it rare. E.g., some eBay listings for a 2003 crowned or old effigy Loonie showed buy it now prices around 20 to 25 Canadian dollars. This is a market markup, not the same as a certified rare coin fetching thousands. A 2003 proof a silver dollar collector issues. Examples of 2003 proof silver dollar. 1 collector coins, like the Golden Jubilee or other commemoratives, have historically sold at retailer prices from about CAD $40 to $120 new or on the secondary market depending on edition, box, and certificate. Auction results vary by scarcity and local demand. 2023-2024. King Charles dollar, for comparison newly struck. 2023 Charles III circulated. $1 coins, proofs, and limited editions did see immediate collector demand, and some mint-limited products initially traded above face value. But their long-term premium depends on scarcity, proof finishes, and collector interest. The Royal Canadian Mint's own launch pages and First Strike publicity show this was a deliberate collector release. Important. Online listings are asking prices. Auction hammer prices, what something actually sells for at the end of bidding, can be lower or sometimes higher. And grading, PCGS, NGC, etc., changes everything. A slabbed MS65 or higher could jump well beyond the casual listing prices. Streetwise collectors know how to read listings. Here's the quick checklist before you press buy or bid. 1. Is the coin graded or raw? Graded coins, e.g., NGC MS65, have a professional assessment and market track record. Raw coins rely on the seller's photos and honesty. Graded typically sells for more. 2. Photos, multiple angles, good lighting, look for hairlines, luster, rim strikes, and obvious damage. If the seller shows only one shadowy photo, be suspicious. 3. Provenance and returns. Auctions with no returns or with obscure sellers can lead to disputes. Established auction houses and dealers are safer for pricier lots. 4. Know the variety you're buying. Is it a proof, a common, a circulation strike, or a claimed old effigy? Each has different rarity implications. 5. Realize market liquidity. Some coins trade often. Others are show-and-hold collector pieces that rarely sell. Low liquidity can trail off unpredictable price swings. Let me tell you 3 common real-world reasons people get fooled. 1. Mislabeling and clickbait. Sellers sometimes type sensational descriptions to attract bids. Charles III 2003 may be a keyword play. Always check images and obverse legends. Search results show several eBay listings with misleading titles. 2. Edited images and social media memes. A good Photoshop can make any date read as anything. Viral posts showing a Charles portrait on a 2003 dated coin are almost always manipulated. 3. Novelty tokens and fantasy pieces. Private mints and novelty token makers sometimes produce fantasy coins or replicas for tourists and collectors. These aren't legal tender and are not Royal Canadian Mint issues. If you're looking to actually make a smart buy or find an undervalued coin, here's what increases value legitimately. A low mintage collector editions, limited mintage proofs, especially those in original packaging with certificates, are the easiest path to a meaningful premium. The Royal Canadian Mint's silver proof $1s from 2003 are a good example. A grading and eye appeal, a high-grade MS or PR coin from NGC, PCGS, etc., excellent luster, and no contact marks can command multiples above raw examples. Documented errors. Not all errors are valuable, but true minting mistakes accepted by grading services. Dramatic double strikes. Off-center planchets beyond a few degrees. Planchette composition errors can be worth chasing. Market trends. Collector interest spiking after an event, e.g., coronation, death of a monarch, or a series anniversary, can temporarily inflate prices for related issues. When Charles III's effigy was unveiled, demand for first-year issues rose. Let's be very concrete with ranges. Based on recent market evidence and marketplace listings in 2024 to 2025. Circulated 2003 Loonie. Common $1 Canadian to $5 Canadian in typical sales. Uncirculated, brilliant. Uncirculated 2003. Loonie $2 to $15 depending on appearance. Some sellers ask $15 to $30 for especially nice uncirculated examples. Certified MS64 to MS66, graded. Could trade from about $25 Canadian up to $150 plus depending on grade and eye appeal. Higher grades are rarer and thus can push into the high hundreds if truly exceptional. A 2003 proof of silver commemorative. $1, with box and COA $40 Canadian to $150 plus, depending on the edition and market interest. Some limited editions dropped into the mid-hundreds when sold as sealed. Ultra-limited sets. Era Charles III on 2003 item, likely a novelty or altered coin. Auction value depends on novelty appeal, sometimes a few dollars, sometimes more if presented as a modern fantasy round, but no legitimate. RCM 2003 coin will bear Charles III as original legal tender. I once saw a 2003 Loonie in a lot of coins sold by an estate. The listing called it rare old effigy. A local collector bought the lot, had the coin slabbed MS63, and sold it 2 years later at a specialized auction for a modest profit, not a life-changing sum, but proof that good eye, patience, and proper grading can pay. The lesson: knowledge a hype. If you're hunting, whether for the love of history or to find an auction bargain, here's the distilled advice. 1. Never buy the headline. Read the obverse. If a listing says Charles III, 2003, inspect the coins, obverse image and the legend. If the legend says Elizabeth II D times G times Regina, it's a 2003 Elizabeth II issue, not Charles. 2. Prefer slabs for investment buys. Grading stabilizes value and buyer confidence. If you're looking to resell, graded coins are far easier to move. 3. Beware of seller fairy tales. If a seller claims a coin is a unique error, that will go to the moon. Ask for previous auction records or grading confirmations. 4. Buy for enjoyment first. Many collectors who make money do so because they love the coins, know their market, and collect patiently. Coins are small-time machines. A 2003 Loonie carries the portrait of the monarch who reigned then, the design choices of that era, and the stories of the mint workers who struck it. The emergence of Charles III D times G times Rex on Canadian coinage is a living continuation of a millennia-old tradition, not a retroactive secret hidden on a 2003 piece. When you hold a coin, you're holding more than metal, you're holding a moment in a continuing story. Some coins are rare, some are common. The myths will always be fun to chase, but the real reward is knowing which is which. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments, what coin myth do you want us to bust next? Maybe the one about the 1955 maple era, or the gold coin in the attic story. Until next time, keep your eyes sharp and your coins clean.